is where
Most
he's
people
at.
still think of him as a Charger, I think. But
Yeah, practice yesterday. Apparently suffered a significant injury, but it is a torn hamstring. According to Adam Schefter, will be out for the season.
And as you said, you are no physician. You did not go to medical school.
Not a single year of medical school. Hamstrings seem important for a kicker.
Yep. There you go. Breaking news right out the top. On the show today, Zach Cohen, VSiN, writer and editor, going to talk some Olympic tennis and men's basketball with us in the Olympics. Olympics opening ceremony tonight. I know we've had sports being played, but tonight is the official opening. LeBron James, Coco Gauff carrying our flag.
Well, this is where the Olympics coverage gets tricky because I think I saw like a 10:30 a.m. time on it. I don't know if that's Eastern or Pacific time for when it would be live, but I'm guessing NBC is replaying.
Oh, yeah. Live, yes. Correct. Time zone difference.
Yeah.
Jordan Sherwood on UFC 304. Chris Felica, a little college football and beyond. Jason Weingarten as well. What division do we have today? AFC South. We will discuss today as we just continue our July division-by-division sort of analysis, which really leans a lot this week because it's preview guide season on FTN and Aaron Schatz's appearance earlier this week. I think more than any appearance we've had this summer. Let's put it that way. I think his appearance was the most sort of blow-up-all-your-bets appearance of anybody. Do you not agree with that?
Ooh.
Everything he said was contrary.
Well, first of all, Aaron's always amazing.
Always
It
fascinating.
was a great guest appearance.
Yes.
I think a little yes, a little no.
Okay. I'm going to say yes. Thinks the Patriots are going to win 7. Thinks the Falcons have the worst defense in the NFL. Under on the Colts and the Bears. What else? Saints to win the division. Man, it just kept going on and on. Best value bets for the Super Bowl. Dolphins, Texans. Well,
Saints to win the division, I think to me that's the hottest take.
But just even when we went through it division by division, we'll continue today with the AFC South. Like putting it in the context, their perspective is so interesting, and we'll talk in what is a cluttered division in the AFC South, and there's tons of opinions, and you will probably be shocked by how they have the order of teams. Kelly, you particularly head-to-head with shots on a lot of these. Let's just say he doesn't like your Colts bet very much.
Okay. Well, the only Colts bets I have though is swinging way high on Anthony Richardson.
Well,
Anthony Richardson MVP.
Well, he doesn't like it. No, I shouldn't say that. No, they will get into.
I would say the only one we're actually really head to head on is the Patriots.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing also that happened in the – well, first of all, before we get to Zach, my tennis bets for the Olympics, I have Iga minus 175 to win the women's side. I have Carlitos at plus 135 to win the men's side. That was made before Jannik Sinner pulled out. Nothing real spectacular there. I did make a quarter bet yesterday. By the time we said on the show yesterday, oh, my God, if you can find Coco Gauff, whatever her number is, pound away in Q4. We were doing the show, so we couldn't bet it, but Kelly said, hey, MGM has minus 110. By the time we got off air, minus 160. So I didn't bet that. But I did bet Karolina Muchova to win Q2 at plus 155, and that was quite the adventure, Kelly, I must say, because it wasn't simple as going into our old good buddies over there across the town and just putting down a dime on plus 155 or anything. I had to bet it 14 or try to bet it 14 different times to get a dime down. Never moved it. Still got it. Plus 155. Karolina Muchova to win Q2 with Rybakina gone in this tournament. I don't know if it clears the way more for Iga because Iga's side of the bracket, once again, is much more difficult. Coco got the best of it. So those are the 3 bets. Iga and Carlitos to win. Karolina Muchova plus 550. Excuse me, plus 155. Pardon me. But plus 550, by the way. It's not plus 155 on the screen. Plus 550 to win Q2. Did I write that wrong or did you guys write that wrong? I don't know. Maybe it's plus 550 anyway. Okay. So we'll talk to Zach about that.
You did, actually.
I did. Yeah, I might have messed
I
that
should
up.
have. You know what? I'm upset with myself though because I should have grabbed your entire text from yesterday.
Yes.
And made it into a graphic.
I texted Kelly my exhaustive attempt to bet this 14 different times.
It's such a great example of betting in Las Vegas. Like, and it's specifically for a bet like this that I'm not going to say is. It's not maybe a super popular bet, but it's also not like a super obscure bet either.
It involves, let's put it this way, it involves seeing it on the app, going to the desk, them saying, no, you can only bet it on the app, fine, put it on the app, then doing the whole, they limit you, but then it's just a dumb, nonsensical limit because eventually you got the same amount you wanted in the first place on it. It just took you 14 times to do it.
Right.
The message being, what the heck is going on? What are we doing? What are we doing? None of it makes sense. You didn't move the line on me. What are we doing? Maybe if, I don't know, it's too exhaustive. It's too detailed to get it by the end of the show.
It would have been just funny to look at.
It's a scroll. It's like reading the Torah, for God's sakes, making a bet. A little reference for a certain portion of the audience. The other thing that happened in the NFL, we got the Badgley news. Russell Wilson, calf injury, yes?
Yeah.
Now, you think you'd like to make more of this than people are.
I don't know. I mean, look, the team's
yesterday.
downplaying it, right, and they're saying they're being cautious, but you just hear a calf with a quarterback. Like, and not even – obviously, we have last year to go off
the
of.
Joe Burrow Zapruder film footage of his calf injury.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just – I don't know. It's a little bit of a red flag, and especially with a guy that – look, the team brought in another quarterback as well for you to in theory, to compete with, or their quarterback of the future a little bit with Justin Fields. So, look, there are betting markets of week one starting quarterbacks. I think this is a little fascinating.
Why don't we take a gander? By the way, Russell Wilson, 35 years old, will be 36 in November. So, yes, these are up. Who will be the week one starter? We've looked at this earlier in the summer, but this Russell Wilson thing gives us entree to talk about it again, because I do think there's a couple that are pretty interesting. Russell Wilson's still the big favorite to be the week one starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's at minus 750. If you think this is a thing, though, Justin Fields at plus 450 sits out there. These are available at DraftKings. Let me cut down to the bottom. Jacoby Brissett minus 900 to be the Patriots' week one starter. Drake May plus 550. I think that's, appropriately priced. Everything we heard is that Jacoby Brissett will be. In fact, Gerard Mayo saying he's what was his turn of phrase this week? Pro-ready quarterback.
The most pro-ready quarterback.
He's the most pro-ready quarterback we have. That's not a good thing to say. But Jacoby Brissett, certainly a veteran. It's more of a, what are you trying to say about Drake May right now?
By the way, there's some of these things that go on in sports. I like Jacoby Brissett. Everybody knows that anyways. I like him separately from but you know how much respect I have for some of these guys like him that just know, you're going to go into a season that you likely have no chance to succeed in. You're likely going to lose your job at some point, and you have to be okay signing up for
I bet your mindset for a guy like that has to shift at some point to, I've been this great athlete all my career, all my life. Mm-hmm. Now I view it as having a really good job.
Yeah, I think so. But bravo for you being able to shift to that mindset, right? So.
Okay, well, second from the bottom, Daniel Jones, minus 550 to be the starting quarterback week one for the Giants. Drew Lock. How many people listening were like, Drew Lock is the backup quarterback in New York? Plus 380.
That one even, I'm not running to bet that, but doesn't that feel a little light still? They're going to roll out Daniel Jones week one.
Yeah, in fact, it was shorter than this when it first came out. Yeah. So this is drifting towards Jones even more. Now, the two that we left for last year are the most interesting. The Vikings, Sam Darnold's minus 500, J.J. McCarthy 3-1. There is a guy, by the way, Drew Lock, just to finish up the Giants thing, he said he was told Daniel Jones is the starter of the team. That's been conveyed to me. So that might be all you really need to know about that.
Right.
Let's just sort of, if you take him at his word, barring injuries, of course, with all this. Okay, so there's Luke Easterling, who used to write for Sports Illustrated and is now a writer for Athlon, Pro Football Writers Association. He's a member. He says that there is a shot that J.J. McCarthy starts week one.
Yeah.
So if you believe one guy anyway, J.J. McCarthy is 3-1 as the dog. Sam Darnold minus 500.
I've heard that. I've also going back to the Patriots real quick. It was Adam Chernoff's podcast. He's doing a bunch of team previews right now. Simple Handicap, right? I think that's the name of his.
That's correct.
Wanted to make sure I got it right. He's doing a great job. He's doing each team previews, but he's trying to grab someone who covers the team and talk to them. I'm blanking on who he had on to talk about the Patriots, but he threw out there an outside chance if May looks good in camp. He thinks there's a better chance than most people are making it
For Drake May?
Yeah, if Drake May grabbing the week one starting.
And then the biggest coin flip of them all, because those are all pretty large favorites, but the coin flip, just barely a favorite now. Aiden O'Connell, we're talking the Raiders now. Aiden O'Connell opened here at plus 170-ish to be the week 1 starter going up against Gardner Minshew. O'Connell going into his second year, Gardner Minshew going into his 6th. Mm-hmm. Gardner Minshew coming over from the Colts because obviously he saw Anthony Richardson. He's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't stick around here. O'Connell now a minus 120 slight favorite. Gardner Minshew even money. Antonio Pierce's comments on this just yesterday. Local news reporter asked him, what about it, week 1? And Antonio Pierce, in his usual eloquent way, said, we'll know when it's obvious. Unquote.
They are splitting snaps at camp.
They are splitting them. It's going to be a training camp and preseason thing.
Yeah. I still lean Minshew, but at this price, I don't know.
At this price, there's no bet. But when it came out at plus 170, I wish I sort of latched onto that. My bad on that. What's the best bet if you had to make one of all those?
Oh, man, I'd probably still lay it. Lay it with
one of the favorites, Daniel Jones or something. Yep. Coming back, Zach Cohen on tennis next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The VSiN NFL betting guide is out now, and our all-new college football guide drops August 1st. Only VSiN Pro subscribers get all the tools to prep for the college and NFL seasons. Our experts provide profiles of every team with advanced stats, trends, and power ratings, plus best bets on futures and season win totals. Sign up before the end of July and receive both guides and full VSiN Pro access to our daily Pro Picks, 24/7 video, and exclusive data like our betting splits all the way through the Super Bowl for an early bird discount price of just $175. The football special discount price expires on July 31st, though. That is 5 days from now, so do not wait. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up today. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. TV's behind Kelly Bidlin, so I'm always distracted because I'm like a dog. Just like, what's that? And Fortenbaugh, our buddy Fortenbaugh was on. Joe Fortenbaugh. What's with the mustache? He's doing the mustache thing again?
I think it's I mean, we'll have to ask him when we get him on, but I believe it's become a summer tradition for him.
I see.
I think he goes away for vacation, grows it out, and then comes back and looks like. I also forgot we got a random tweet yesterday about someone very angry about the bottle of Prime energy drink that's sitting under the taps.
That's right.
Which I thought was a very odd spotting behind me, but
what was his thought? He said get rid of it, or what was his thing?
Yeah, it was really bothering him for some reason. I don't know why. He didn't know what it was, didn't like it.
A lot of chatter on Twitter about what happens behind us.
Usually there's more action behind you.
Could you help that guy with his earpods?
This is just a bar. I can't really go back there and start moving things.
Kelly, can I? Kelly's tending bar. Later on
the beer taps, I can't do anything about.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow him on Twitter at BettingOnX. He is, of course, a VSiN senior writer. He's a part of the glue that holds this whole operation together. Back from vacation, it's the great Zach Cohen, everybody. How you doing? Courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. What's happening, man?
Not much, but I should mention Prime is very good. I drink a lot of it, even though I probably shouldn't because I believe they found forever chemicals in it or something, but I'm ignoring it and drinking it anyway.
Wow.
Okay, I have two comments on that. I was going to say I very much agree with this statement. It is my favorite new energy drink because it is 0 calorie, right, Zach? But it doesn't have a disgusting aftertaste, which I feel like a lot of energy drinks have. So I'm with you. I don't know what you just said about chemicals that are going to kill me one day, but I probably got enough of that going on in my body already.
You guys want to have this conversation?
Yeah, just take a segment off. Energy drink breakdown.
All right, Zach. Let's Olympics. I don't know if you know this. Opening ceremonies today. Obviously, it started in other sports. Let's talk basketball before we get to tennis. Basketball. Can we say we? We are the United States. Minus 500 in that range to win the men's basketball tournament. It has not been a smooth sail here in the ramp up to this. Is there a bet beyond us that you like?
I wish I could tell you differently. I don't think that there is. I just think that, France, for as good as that front court is with Wembanyama and Gobert, I don't think that they have, the offensive firepower that you need to beat a team like the U.S. Like the game is close, in the final 5 minutes. Who are they giving the ball to? I have a lot of question marks there. I believe the answer would be like an Evan Fournier, who I just don't think is going to consistently be able to create offense against the type of defenders that the Team U.S. has. Same time, I think Canada is getting close. close. I actually think it really hurt them that Zach Edey is not playing. I think they could really use just a really big guy like that. They're missing just a center with the size to, kind of bang with the U.S. big men. So I think I just think that both of those teams they're getting closer, but they're just a little bit short.
Did you end up making any bets, Kelly?
Nothing in futures. I did bet Canada tomorrow. Tomorrow lay in 7 against, who am I blanking on? Greece. They are playing Greece. I laid 7 with them when that popped up. I don't know if you looked at any of those games, Zach, but that number felt a little light to me when, Giannis is pretty much the only thing Greece has going for him.
Yeah, I have no problem with that play. I was intrigued by Spain plus 4.5 against Australia, but no, I didn't end up taking anything tomorrow.
All right, let's go to tennis. How did they end up putting Nadal so close to Djokovic where these two will face each other in round 2? You seem to like that more than I do. You like that?
I'm excited by the possibility of them playing one another, and I do think that if it were later in the tournament, there's more of a chance that we don't get it. So I think that if they do see each other in their second round, I'll have no complaints just because it is a blockbuster matchup between two legends that I would like to see rather than not see. But I do think that there's a pretty good chance that we don't see Nadal in the second round. I think that his first round opponent, Martin Fucsovics, is a very good player. I also think that, it doesn't seem like a lock that Nadal's going to play. They're starting to say that, his hamstring flared up in practice. He's definitely planning to play doubles, but singles is not a guarantee anymore. So I'm starting to think that we're not going to see him.
This is it for Nadal, by the way. This is it for Andy Murray. I mean, these are legends. Like, if you're not a tennis hardo, I don't know what the analogous thing is, but this is as, with the exception of Federer, obviously, and maybe Djokovic, but for Nadal, it's as big as it gets, and Murray is right behind. So this is too bad that it ends this way. Carlitos, the rightful favorite, would you say?
I think he's the rightful favorite. I'm not going to play him. I just think that there's a lot going on for him right now. He just won 2 Grand Slams. He's enjoying the Olympic Village. There's the big rumor on Twitter.
Yes, he is.
I think that you see him taking pictures with literally every single person that stops him. So I think that there's a chance that he might be a little distracted. And I do think that there's good value elsewhere where, I'm looking at this the way I kind of do at Roland Garros. I think that there's Casper Ruud's out there at about 14-1. Alexander Zverev's out there. You can get him at plus 750. I think both those guys, they've shown that they can compete with the top players in this sport on clay. ELO rating backs it up. A lot of different numbers back it up. I think that Zverev is a play that I'm really interested in. I ended up putting a full unit on Zverev. I also put a half on Casper. I know that Casper had that really bad loss to Montero last week, but not putting too much into that. I think that he plays really well in these conditions. I think he has a really favorable draw. I think both of them have really, really good draws. I think that Zverev's toughest opponent that he'd play before the semifinals would be, Taylor Fritz, who got him at Wimbledon, but I just don't see it happening on clay.
Those are the only 2 players I jotted down when I saw the draw real quick in that quarter. And the eye test passes with Zverev and Ruud, too. Again, for those who don't know, this is at the same locale, the same venue as the French Open, Roland Garros. Philippe Chatrier being the center court here, and Casper Ruud got to the finals 2 times in a row, last year and the year before. And Sasha Zverev, who Zach has a full unit on, he actually got to the finals this year against Carlitos. And if it weren't for an umpire get off the chair overturn, he probably beats Carlos Alcaraz. So I got no problem with either of those. Casper Ruud 14-1, Sasha Zverev 6-1 at DraftKings. Women's side, that draw came out, man, Zach, and I was like, oh my God, could Coco have gotten a better draw? She's just all alone there in Q4 to me. She was minus 110 yesterday. I was like, oh my God, bet that. It's already minus 160 in that quarter. And then the upper half, even with an Elena Rybakina withdrawal, still much more difficult, I think. How do you see a breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I went with Iga. I got it at minus 185. I just kind of think that, like, as tough as the draw looks, it's still Iga on clay. It's still Iga at Philippe Chatrier. So I do think that there's a tough road, but I just trust her on these courts more than I do anybody else. And, as funny as it might seem to, rule her out against Yelena Ostapenko in a fourth-round matchup, I still think she'd be, minus 300 or so in that match. So it's a 4-0 head-to-head. It's pretty significant, but I do think that Iga would get the best of her in these conditions. And then I also, I wouldn't hate anyone that goes with Coco just because the draw is so easy. And, if Iga does get knocked out before the final, you're sitting there with a really good ticket. So I don't hate that play. I do think Tomljanovic in round one is going to probably be maybe her toughest opponent that she plays for like 3 or 4 matches. And I will say, I'm a little bit more interested in Barbora Krejcikova than, people might think. I know that Wimbledon run might have seemed fluky to some, but she's a really, really good player. A top 5 player when she is at the peak of her power. She has won the French Open before, so she likes these courts as well. I think that her ability, to just mix shots up, hit with really good spin, it definitely helps her at Philippe Chatrier. So I think at 22-1, that's a pretty good number on a player that is finally playing with confidence, finally healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's no cakewalk, even though Iga is the Rafa Nadal of this surface. Coco with the draw, plus 650. Naomi Osaka, who scared the living daylights out of Iga at the French Open, is 18-1. Jasmine Paolini, who was a finalist this year against Iga, 20-1. And you mentioned Krejcikova, who has won the French Open. She's 22-1. So, and then Ostapenko being Swiatek's kryptonite, 4-0 lifetime against Iga. So we'll see how that goes if the two shall meet. Is there any other thing rando in the Olympics that you're looking to bet?
No, I mean, I'll just say with tennis, it is really important to remember that it is a best of 3 and not a best of 5. We've seen a lot of these top players that have not broken through and won majors have had a lot of success at the Masters 1000 level. Alexander Zverev has won 6 Masters events, 4 of them on clay. He was the last player to win Olympic gold. So if you're kind of thinking, these guys have that mental block where they have not been able to win majors, they're chokers, if you want to label them that, I would throw that away heading into this tournament. It's a lot easier to win a best of 3 where, you could come out hot, your better opponent comes out a little cold and they don't have the time required to come back and play themselves back into the match.
Yeah, Zach referring to the men's side, this is not a slam format on the men's side. This is best of 3. So upsets that much more likely to happen, in other words, where the talent doesn't have enough time to manifest sometimes. Zach, always a pleasure. Enjoy the Olympics, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Zach Cohen, everybody. Betting on X on Twitter. Nice handle, once again. We'll come back. AFC South. Who you got? You got the Colts. You got the Jaguars. You got the Texans. Wait till you hear about the Titans. That's next. Numbers Game. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back on a Numbers Game live from Bar Canada at the Day here in downtown Las Vegas. Gill Alexander, Kelly Bidlin. Should I Ron Burgundy through some tweets, Kelly? I know how much you love that.
Go for it.
Somebody asked.
Trying to make a bet. So go for it.
By the way, Rich PS. Oh, you're doing that? Oh, so Circa is messing with Kelly's head.
No. I'm not doing that one. The one I saw on DraftKings that I'm now shopping around in Nevada for is Canada to medal.
The best part of that is Kelly wanted me to shut up so quickly there when I brought up. You're like, no, don't say it out loud. Okay.
Well, no, I'm going because it's a very different direction. No, what I told Gill off air is every time I've been asked about USA pricing for basketball, and I don't know about JVT. I don't want to speak for him. I think me and Zach have been kind of boring with the futures board because I think it's priced pretty accurately. But I've said minus 500 all along feels pretty fair on the U.S., but then I caught Circa yesterday having like minus 340 up or something.
Just enough to mess with
And I'm like, oh, boy, this is just enough to mess with my head.
We get tweets at beating the book. Summer Hutchison. He said, Gilly, have you had the fella on who predicts win totals based on OCDC and head coach changes? No, you're talking about Matt Buchalter, who is at Plus EV Analytics on Twitter. We have Matt on every year now. It's become an annual tradition. And the answer to that is yes. After your tweet, we have been in contact. He will be on Thursday, the week of Bet Bash. So what is that? That's August 8th, I believe he will be on. So looking forward to that. Again, what he does is analysis of the way that those changes happen. Like if it's a couple of them at the same time, if it's a couple of them not at the same time, if it's one versus one. It's a whole thing. And it really works out well with season win totals. So we'll get him on. Rich PSM. Thought your interview with Aaron Schatz was as helpful an interview as I've heard on your show. The Patriots and Saints are definitely well thought out, yet unlikely to be popular with my friends. where my friends and I don't know. It's my final threshold. Thank you all. May the Pats D best the 23 Ravens. Let's see. Trust the glove. Hoping for some more Drew Bowski Olympics insight. He'll be on Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Always, yep.
Dan Abrams, very happy about the Matt Buckhalter interview.
I wonder if he got his canoe bed in. Was it canoeing?
Oh, Lisa Carrington.
Yeah,
I believe is her name.
Yeah.
Carrington is her last name.
Pretty sure you got it, yeah.
You know what's amazing is that most of his, so like, how you know you have the same offshore as Drew is the very ones that he's talked about, they don't exist anymore on there. I'm like, man. Rich BSM says, yes, please have Matt Buckhalter on as well. This is from Artur Dominguez. I know on yesterday's show you mentioned you love Coco's path for the women's singles title in the Olympics. Not singles title, to win her quarter. Any concerns with her playing women's doubles and mixed doubles, especially if weather causes any delays? No, not really, to be honest with you, because she's used to playing doubles in all of her slams as well. But again, just to be clear, not to win it, to win her quarter. That was my thought on that. We'll get to more of these tweets because there's tons of these. We'll get to them. That's
a good question. Is there anybody, because it's the Olympics, that is playing doubles that doesn't typically?
Good question, and I don't know.
Okay. Because, I think there's a lot of the people you would say exactly what you said, right? Where, hey, they're kind of used to this. It's not that big of a deal.
Iga would have been that example. Like, she would have been the example because she was going to play with Humbert. J-Rod can tell me more about this. She was going to play with, not Humbert, Urquhart. And that's not happening now. Okay. So she might have been that example, but I don't think that's happening now.
Gotcha.
All right, let's talk some AFC South. Let's begin with the Texans. And again, as much as we all love the Texans, perhaps we didn't wrap our brains around just how absolutely amazing what went down with the Texans last year is, just from, again, hiring the right head coach in DeMeco Ryans and picking the right quarterback at number 2 in C.J. Stroud. But here's the thing with all of this in the NFL, and we don't talk about this enough, Kelly. So much of this is luck, right? Oh, yeah. It's like the Malcolm Gladwell outliers thing, where we don't acknowledge sometimes why some people become outliers. They would have taken Bryce Young had they had the number 1 pick. They've acknowledged that. They also, right, DeMeco Ryans' wife Jamila's from Houston. He played there, but the wife part is probably why he was so willing to coach there as well. She wanted to go home. So there's lots of little things you don't talk about that are not exactly, on the surface. But what did Stroud's ascension do? It unlocked Nico Collins, who before last year had only played 24 games and had 927 receiving yards. Last year alone, 80 for 1297 out of nowhere. Tank Dell immediately becomes a difference maker till he fractured his fibula in Week 13. 3 100-yard games, 7 touchdowns on just 75 targets. And then on defense, they drafted Will Anderson, remember, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 7 sacks, 15 games, despite playing through a high ankle sprain. Not to mention Derek Stingley, right? They changed the defense. Lovie Smith's cover 2 out the window. Derek Stingley, 5 picks and 11 starts. Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator extraordinaire, took head coaching jobs, staying with the Texans. So far, all still good. And remember, Stroud tore defenses apart. Remember, there's a couple games at the beginning where he didn't play well, and then he went nuts till Week 13. That entire section of the season, he was unbelievable. And then, of course, the concussion happened. Also, first it was Dell's fibula fracture, right? Collins also missed most of a 30-6 loss to the Jets. Then that was the one that Stroud had the concussion. But then at the end of the year, remember, he cleaned up against the Titans, helped them hang on against the Colts, so they got to the postseason. They get Danielle Hunter, as you mentioned the other day, Kelly, opposite Anderson now.
Danielle Hunter. Man, I've always been a big fan of his, and I think it's a nasty pass rushing duo that they've got now. Also,
ex-DeMeco linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair. Danico Autry comes from the Titans. And on offense, remember, they traded a 7th-round pick for Joe Mixon after it looked like he might be released. And, of course, Stephon Diggs. All of that's great, but first-place schedule. But it is, according to, again, FTN, since it's preview guide season, the greatest Texans projection they've ever had.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just a couple notes. I think it's very interesting when you go to look back from last year because you could say, hey, they did face, but when it was all said and done, face the 6th easiest schedule. The 1-score games really went their way, but I think that also tells you something about how special a quarterback C.J. Stroud is. But the injury stuff is Like, that matters so much in this league. And, like, the wide receiver and offensive line injuries that they had throughout the year were massive. And they still performed that well offensively. Like, I think we think the same on this. I think C.J. Stroud is special. I think, like, he's that guy that I'm not doubting. I don't think they take a step back this year at all.
Again, why people between the college football season and the draft thought that C.J. Stroud wasn't the best quarterback, I will never have any idea. We were consistent about it on this show the whole way. Have you ever heard C.J. Stroud in an interview talking football? He is as sharp as they come.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason I'm not betting them to win the division is because of my affinity for Anthony Richardson as well, that could possibly blow this all up.
Well, you may not like this about the Colts, according to FTN anyway. So remember the Colts yesterday, they won 9 games last year. Anthony Richardson only started 4 times, though. Remember, then they had the Jonathan Taylor contract dispute. It was in September. He finally played. He just played 10 games, though, between the negotiation taking a long time, and then he was on the PUP list with a thumb injury as well. Offensive line, remember, was great, then had a slump in 2022. They were pretty good last year, 2023, got back into it. But they still project them. Are you ready for this? Because the way that FTN views them, that while the skill position core has some exciting young depth, the defense hasn't been great, wasn't actively bad in 2023, although the defensive line is very, very good. They project them as a subpar team in almost all facets, a team that is even predicted to finish behind the Will Levis-led Titans, according to FTN.
Wow.
They do concede on AR. Your guy, Anthony Richardson, he threw just 1 pick and 84 pass attempts, completed 59.5% of his passes. That will have to improve. But he had a 92.3% accuracy rate, according to FTN data charting, which would have tied him for 10th with Patrick Mahomes. I've never heard of that guy.
Wow.
If he had thrown enough passes.
I couldn't even have guessed that.
If he had thrown enough passes to qualify. 4 rushing touchdowns, 8 other first down rushes in just portions of 4 games. But he had a knee ankle ailment against the Jags in week 1, concussed in week 2 against the Texans, and then needed shoulder surgery to repair an AC joint after week 5. Now, the problem is, so Minshew was actually statistically kind of good last year, though, in his stead. The Colts finished 17th in passing DVOA. Again, this was the theme of their Colts thing, which is everything sort of mid-range for them. By the way, Joe Flacco is your backup quarterback. A lot of people probably didn't know that. But the Colts finished 20th overall in DVOA, their proprietary stat. We're below average on both defense and special teams, and that's coming off a 2022 season, by the way, where they finished dead last in DVOA. And then here's the thing. They really don't like Chris Ballard as a GM because outside of Raekwon Davis and Flacco, the Colts pretty much didn't do a darn thing.
No, they didn't do anything. Yeah,
so
they didn't do anything.
So what the FTN's point is, the Colts are sitting on this group, generally speaking, that he thinks Ballard is overrating and that the season will completely come down to Anthony Richardson. Are you awesome and you're going to save them from their mediocrity, or are you not going to be awesome and then you're just going to stink?
So, Gill, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Completely
But
agree
you
with
go
that
with
breakdown.
the former.
Yeah, I completely agree with the breakdown. I just think there is a very, very realistic possibility that Anthony Richardson is that good.
Their analytics-based minds don't obviously consider 4 games enough of a sample size, so they are erring on the side of the latter.
Yeah.
So they've got the Colts at dead last.
I think that all makes a lot of sense.
It does
I completely
make sense.
agree with that, actually.
Obviously, we'll do the Jaguars and the Titans on the other side. First, some UFC with Jordan Sherwood next on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Don't forget to check out our website, vsin.com. Saratoga picks from Mike Somich on there, Del Mar as well. Zach on the Olympics, the tennis tournament, JVT on Olympics men's basketball. So much there at the homepage. And, of course, best bets, betting splits, exclusive articles, odds by state, betting tools, and betting guides, all at vsin.com. Real quick, some tweets, because we'll never catch up otherwise.
I have your answer really quick, too.
Chad
Ochocinco.
Oh, well, let's get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before that's apropos of nothing.
Sorry.
Jamie Leva, I was not expecting to see Snoop and Dionne Warwick lighting and passing the spliff. I mean, torch this morning. Did I mention I love this show? You guys are the best. Have a great weekend, gentlemen. Oh, I didn't see that with Snoop and Dionne Warwick. Oh, interesting.
Me either. We don't have Olympics on.
Trust the glove. I love the Torah image, although it would be me making a bet while reading the Old Testament. Yes, that's true. That would not be cool. Steven, Brosec, 1870. Gill fires Kelly on air to start the week. Then Bill Crackman starts telling unwanted heist stories to get the show shut down yesterday. Kelly will be unemployed by football season if he likes it or not. I did not fire him.
Hey, all Crack was doing yesterday was reporting the news.
It's just reporting the news.
This is a news reporting service sometimes.
And I was apologizing to Kelly, and then it got awkward. Steve the Proxy. If only we knew someone that could deploy Delicious on Antonio Pearson, an upscale valet, to find out who really is the starter for Week 1 for the team that decided to make fun of Mahomes yesterday with the Kermit puppet. Gill, is this something you might be interested in? Let me explain all the references in there. I live in the same complex as Antonio Pierce, and one time we were leaving, and it was Antonio Pierce first, I think Delicious second, and then me third. So, yeah, I could work up the courage to ask him who the Week 1 starter is. Maybe I will. But can you believe the Raiders doing that Kermit the Frog thing to Mahomes? What are they doing?
Talk about a decision that feels dumb in the moment, and I'm sure will feel dumber later.
Chris Andrews, my mishpucha, not happy with my Mike Tomlin slander. And then Phil Weiss, he said, you guys are right. It must be tough on Brissett. Well, I didn't say it was tough. I was the one who said he has to transition into it being a job. He said, according to Sport Track, Jacoby Brissett's lifetime earnings, $50,881,475. You're exactly right, Phil. That's my point. It's still a good job. Better job than you'll get in the real world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk some UFC 304. Jordan Sherwood joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Always pumped to have Jordan on, co-host of the Unnamed MMA podcast at ESPN Chicago, at Wood on ESPN 1000 on the old Twitter machine. What's happening, Jordan?
Everything is good. We got a big UFC fight card taking place across the pond, so pleasure to speak to you guys as always to talk about some of the fights.
Well, let's start. I know you don't have an official bet on the main event between Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad. Muhammad, a big dog here, but your thoughts anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting matchup. It's 2 years in the making. It's a rematch. These guys fought a few years ago. The fight was stopped because of an eye poke. Bilal Muhammad was rendered unable to continue, and he's been thinking about this fight since that point. It's really interesting because this fight is obviously taking place in England, and a lot of money has come in on the English fighters, particularly those English fighters that are fighting Americans or Brazilians, not fellow European fighters. I mean, shifting odds almost $1 in their favor. That's not the case on Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad. It has kind of remained at where it is. Bilal Muhammad at a 2-1 underdog. He's going to come in with pressure. He's going to come in with a wrestling game and try to utilize the tutelage he's been receiving now for the last year under Khabib Nurmagomedov to become the champion. And the problem with that is that Leon Edwards has great takedown defense. He's been in there the last 3 fights with fellow wrestlers, Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. He's got a great clinch game, and he is a sniper when it comes to striking. So, Bilal Muhammad's going to have to walk through fire if he's going to, become champion, win rounds, and get his hand raised. It's a tall task. But I think if anybody could do it, and if there's something to fire off on, it's right now where it is at that 2-1 price with Bilal Muhammad, because I've talked to him, and it's not a biased pick because he's from Chicago. But if you want to go on an underdog and you think the timing is right, it is Bilal Muhammad and the matchup that he brings to a fight against Leon Edwards.
I'd call you a homer, but you didn't pull the trigger on the bet, so I can't call you a homer. But I get the sentiment. All right, co-main you do have an opinion on. Now, we talked about this with Lou yesterday. It's Tom Aspinall against Curtis Blades, and we were talking about Curtis Blades. The only thing I knew about him is that he had this, he has no chin. Lou said it's a porcelain jaw is what was his term on this. And then you inform us, one of the great nicknames ever, right? Curtis Razor Blades. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, just playing off of his last name, obviously great. But he's in for a world of hurt. I mean, look, I want to back Chicago fighters, but Blades is walking into this one like he's the White Sox, and Tom Aspinall is really any other team in Major League Baseball when they play the White Sox. Aspinall is special. He set the UFC record for shortest amount of time spent in the octagon. He's a heavyweight that moves like a welterweight. He's got great boxing. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And I think he's going to literally steamroll Curtis Razor Blades. I don't think the wrestling that Blades could potentially utilize is going to come in as a weapon. And Aspinall, this is his coming out party again And it's now been announced. Dana White made it official. The winner of this fight will meet the winner of John Jones, Stipe Miocic to unify the championships. So that's a huge opportunity for Aspinall. I think at a 4-1 price, not worth it whatsoever. Tom Aspinall to win by KO, though, $1.80. We've seen, as you just mentioned, Lou, mentioning Blades being knocked out. He's been knocked out a couple of times before. I think Aspinall gets it done. And even juicier, I would say Aspinall knockout in round 1 if you could find it. Might even be plus money on some books. So, yeah, this is going to be a short fight. I think Curtis Blades has no option but to look for a double leg, and he's going to run into an uppercut. And Aspinall's going to have his hand raised likely in that first round.
By knockout and knockout in round 1 if you can find it on Tom Aspinall in the co-main. All right, right before the co-main event is the lightweight bout between Bobby Green and Paddy Pimblett. Now, Bobby Green you've let us know, officially changed his name to King Green. That, Kelly, if you can go back to what you were saying earlier, that got us thinking, what is your favorite sports official name change of all time? And you were saying it's Ocho Cinco for you?
No, I don't really have an answer, but Chad Johnson to Ocho Cinco, I feel like is the one of the most well-known ones.
Yeah.
And we were wondering, is he still named that? Apparently, he's changed his name back, except Ocho Cinco is his middle name now.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
because Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson now.
His felt like more of a gag, whereas like Meta World Peace from Ron Artest, my favorite's still Lloyd Free to World Be Free. Still the best. So you have King Green and Paddy Pimblett here, and you definitely have a thought and a bet.
Yeah, I do. Look, I think, obviously, I think the UFC wants Paddy Pimblett to be a star. He's very recognizable. He's fun in interviews, and at times he is an entertaining fighter. But I don't think he's lived up to the hype. I think he's benefited from some controversial decisions. He's benefited from some favorable matchups. This is not one. He's not going to have an advantage against Bobby Green, even though Bobby Green now is like 36 years of age, been in 50 mixed martial arts fights. He will not have an advantage on the feet. Bobby Green's not going to be intimidated going into hostile territory with a crowd that's going to be pro-Paddy. And if this fight can get to the ground, maybe Paddy has the advantage, but Bobby Green has elusive boxing, very strong takedown defense. And this is one of those lines where Paddy Pimblett was a big-time underdog, almost plus 150, plus 160 when the line opened. It's now a virtual pick'em, so that's money coming in on Paddy Pimblett. I think you could even wait a little bit further for some more money to come in on Paddy Pimblett before you fire off on King Green. I think King Green can get his hand raised, so that would be certainly a play that I would recommend. He's just a better fighter than what we've seen so far from Paddy Pimblett. The only thing that I could think of happening is Bobby Green gets a little careless, gets a little reckless in there. Paddy Pimblett lands something, takes him down, and submits him. But again, Bobby Green, not a guy that gets submitted a lot, and I don't think Paddy Pimblett can knock him out. So I like Bobby. I like King Green in the fight. Sorry, got to call him by his actual name.
That's all right.
King Green
we understand.
in the fight.
But your strategy is stick around, wait a little before you pull the trigger on it?
I think particularly on that one, because now it's a pick'em, so I think you could wait a little bit further till Paddy becomes the overall favorite, and then you fire off on King Green.
Okay, 60 seconds for the last one. Let's go to the prelims. There's a women's strawweight fight. Bruna Brazil, Molly McCann.
Yeah, Molly McCann's the darling, for overseas, for English fighters. She's finally at the weight that she should be fighting at strawweight. And she's going to get a favorable matchup against Bruna Brazil. The only times that Meatball Maui, a great nickname by the way, struggles is against grapplers, against wrestlers. That's not Bruna Brazil. She's a striker. This is a layup for Molly McCann. So I think not at that price at $4 favorite. Nope. But to win inside the distance, to win by knockout would be my recommended plays for Meatball Maui. She's going to get her hand raised because the UFC wants her to be successful.
All right. Aspinall TKO minus 180. King Green minus 105, but wait, he might get some plus money on that. And Molly McCann plus 150. The bet again on Molly McCann is
inside the distance or even
inside
knockout.
I think those,
inside the distance.
Okay.
Play it safe with either submission or a KO.
I believe you called it a layup. All right.
It's a layup.
It's a layup.
Have fun, English fans, that this card starts at 3 a.m. local time in England. Woo!
Is that for us? I guess that's for us. Huh?
Yeah.
That is for us.
At a normal time. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it. Jordan Sherwood, everybody, on UFC 304. Chris Felica standing by on the other side. All his bets, Olympics and beyond, next on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
At VSiN, we've got you covered before, during, and after every game. Jumpstart your game day with Tim